Here we have a movement for a Ansonia Swinger, or an Ansonia Swinger copy. And look at it working nicely now. I got it, I actually ordered all the pivots. And there was something wrong inside here where the hands were floppy. And there's a spring in there. Let's see, a spring in there that holds it, gives it some tension. There's not a lot of extra play in that gear. I'm going to just try to tighten the frame up a little to get that a little tighter, but I put a pin in there to hold the tension on the spring. It's funny, you put the pin in there and now the gear is too far from the wheel. That's probably why there was no pin in there. Now I understand. So I might have to replace that pin after all. Now there's a little bit of play there between the plates. Yep, if there's a pin, I bet the pin's going to stop that. I think I have to remove the pin. But with no pin, then this spring clips over there and doesn't hold that in place. Boy, this is a conundrum, isn't it? I have a feeling when they produced this clock, they got the Ansonia, it was set up right, and then when they started making, they decided not to use the pin because it was wrong shape. Because if the pin's in there, I can see what's gonna happen. It's gonna bind up that gear. I'm gonna pull the pin and see what happens without the pin. But I hate to say it, I could put some tape on there so that spring never shifts to the right, and it'll always have tension on there because that spring puts tension for this. Wow, conundrum, man. Meanwhile, I got it to run, I think. Oh, what happened now? I can see right now it was running, but now because it's spinning and that pin is hitting the gear now. See, it was only butting a little bit. Now it's. Of course, I thought the gear plates were so tight I loosened them because it was restraining. That gear there was rubbing against the the winding drum. You know what comes down to it? These things are made shitty. There's not a lot of play. There should be lots of little play left and right of all those gears. There should be little room play between this and that winding drum. There should be a little bit of play. This is loose like it should be. And this thing is a little tight, and I can't loosen it, it seems. Yep. Interesting. They're nice, but since they didn't make them from scratch, they copied them somehow. I mean, they should be every gear should be lined up perfectly in the center, and nothing is really. It just barely grabs here in one, and the lantern pinions. Let's see. I'll show you the other one here. See, it's almost to the end of that one. Should be smack dab center, and it's not. Over here, that's kind of centered. Over here, that's way the fuck off. You see? These things are probably dead center, and they're not. I don't know how to make them center. I don't think I can. Just the way it's made. So then by copying, I mean, if they made it from scratch, you would build it and it would be dead center. There's no play. That gear right there is like immovable. It's so close to the plates. I mean, I had to lose the plates because it was so tight. When I tightened the drop plates like I should, I'm sure this was going to bind. That was going to bind. Because it's no play. Let me see if I get that to move. All right. I lose it so I have a tiny bit of play, right? But there's literally no play in that gear. Not enough. And there should be a little bit. Just a little. Wish I had a little pointer here. See, I don't mind that. Every clock I work with got a little bit of play like that. It's all right, you know? But this thing down here is tight as a fucking drum. I don't know how I can release that. It's sticking right through. I loosed it because when I tighten it, I really want to have this. I like to do things like tighten. That was nice and tight. And then this thing was really rubbing against that See how close it is to that damn fucking drum? Well, the drum is tight as well. I could shift the drum left, but let's see. You really can't. And that one's centered. So that's centered right. And it's really, the plates, there's not much play in there. Meanwhile, let's go in now. What I could do, because is that going to make the, if this is still butting a little bit in that thing, if I could grind the pin down that's holding that thing in place, as long as that's intact, as long as that's engaging with that gear, even though it's not much, it don't need much, see? I think I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to grind that pin so tight so that if it ever shifts, or I could set it back the way it is and just let you live with it. No, actually, if you really push that hands all the way forward, it's gonna, I think that pin's gonna grab that wheel. Because the pin, I cut the pin short. I think I made the pin so they wouldn't, they have to be short. The pin has to be shorter than the frame. Let's take a look and see. The pin is short. It might be an optical illusion. Yeah, I should have made that side of the pin shorter. I tried to have it shorter than the ends of the shafts, and I don't think I did it in that one. Yep. I didn't want to, I said when I cut the pins, I didn't want to somehow damage the gears. I've done it before. I cut a pin once and I chipped part of a gear off. Yep. I need to make that pin a little shorter. And I wish the pin was a little thinner. If I got like the thin end of a pin, that way it would come over just a little bit more. Let's see where it engages with the gear. Yeah. If I just, for shits and giggles, I'll put the pin that's for like the hands, the ones that get really narrow, thin like a needle, and I'll use just some. I'll have that spring push it and press to the pin, but not fill the hole as much, because you know that gear is, the spring is pushing that gear against the pin. So if I had a smaller pin, it would suffice, and then have a little bit more grab on that wheel. You know, I figured out what was wrong with the other thing. This part here was bent a little. Or this was running at an angle, and I was had to raise this up a little, and you can adjust this. You see, it adjusts. So when you adjust, let's see, this adjusts, you know. So basically, for some reason, when I was adjusting it, it was running, but, and this piece right here was too low. So I actually bent that up a teeny bit to make it more level, and it runs a lot better. Somehow this piece here was like down. This has a screw in it that locks it in place, and they should have one on this side too, the dumb shits, but they don't. It floats. But anyway, the screw on this side mounts it, so I figured there's no ring. This is wrong. I thought that I called this as a given, but in reality, now this being that way, this was bent too low, and I set it up to run. This is not level. This is at an angle, climbing up. And I didn't like it. Now this is running in the center of the wheel. Now I like that better. I literally got a screwdriver and I bent that up a little bit. I figured, well, it's your machine. I'm learning a new machine. So I bent this up a little. I probably have it, it's maybe a little cockeyed, yeah, tiny bit. And I wouldn't mind bending up a tiny bit more, tell you the truth. But I think we're doing okay, because the little play is all right. Now we're way much more where I want to be. Anyway, let's see how we can get this. It's quite possible that pin and that shaft is not engaging with that other shaft right now. Let's take a look. see these little discs here? They're crap, but I saw them online in England. I said, aren't those cool? And they had a round movement on it. And it was a French clock movement. So that's kind of an interesting idea. And these cost like $60. Little piece of plastic shit. But you know what? How else could I hold your movement here to test it? So in reality, worth the $60. Because for now, it works for this, you see? How else would I be able to hold that and test it? So anyway, all right, I'm going to send you this message and you'll see what's coming along anyway. I'm going to school. Bye-bye.